Well, as we said, it's the 15th, and it's a very special occasion tonight, and perhaps has a weight and a significance, as many have alluded to, for us to be gathered here tonight. So we introduce a new segment to Affinity Iftar Dinner, and it's a segment that we're going to call The Meaning of Ramadan, aiming to delve deeper into the significance and essence of this sacred month. So to shed some light on this, it's my honour to invite to the stage to deliver the first of these Meaning of Ramadan sessions, Omar Dehen, as he shares his reflections and wisdom on this auspicious occasion. Omar's a communications specialist. He was a senior correspondent at SBS World News. He reported on stories around the globe, including the refugee crisis in Ukraine, Poland, pro-democracy protests in Hong Kong, and the like. He's a public speaker and moderator. He's appeared on many, as a current affairs commentator on many programs. So, Omar, welcome and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, James. Good evening to you all and Ramadan Mubarak. I want to start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land and thank very much Affinity Intercultural Foundation, and I'm sure my favourite and all of your favourite cousin, Ahmet, the tireless Ahmet, for inviting me here tonight. It is an honour to be here in your company here at Parliament House as I share with you what this sacred time of year means to me. I think keeping it to what this means to me would be the wisest thing to do. I was born into a Muslim family and observed Ramadan throughout my childhood and into my early adult years. This faith, while I am no longer a practicing Muslim, and the holy month are, however, intertwined with my identity, and both have played a very significant role in shaping the person I am today. For me, Ramadan, first and foremost, is about family. I grew up in Auburn, which is Western Sydney, the first in my family born in Australia. My parents migrated from Syria, and with most of my extended family still overseas, we would regularly visit Syria during the holy month. I was 4 years old when we first travelled to Syria, and I travelled with my mum and my sisters. There are many things, it's funny, still at that young age, I still vividly remember. I remember my uncle Ayman and my auntie Fatima picking us up at Damascus airport. I remember the 4-hour drive from Damascus to Latakia feeling like it was an eternity. And I remember the first time my grandparents first walks around the neighbourhood with my jiddo and forcing my tata, my grandmother, to watch Home Alone, which was my beloved VHS tape at the time, and trying to translate to a woman that spoke no English as a 4-year-old what the movie was about. And I also very much remember our first Iftar dinner. I remember the ftur, or Iftar, because all my aunties and uncles and cousins, not Ahmet, were there. And they were squeezed around a long table to eat, and some spilled over onto the couch because there weren't enough seats for the kids. Now, not to play the Arab stereotype, but I had a lot of cousins. I have a lot of cousins. They come in dozens. And they were there. They were all there. It was the first time I'd really got to know them, got to meet them. And I still can picture the food laid out on the table. It was the same spread over the course of the years that we'd visit. The kousa, the matlube, the kibeneye, the wara aneb, the tabbouleh, even the fatoush, even though that was not something I was fond of, and that and the olives. At the time, I obviously didn't realize it was an iftar. I didn't yet understand what Ramadan was. But as I got older, and as we visited Syria every few years, these gatherings became such important markers in our lives, not only a time to observe our faith, but a rare opportunity for a family that is usually divided by thousands of kilometres to unite. During our Syrian visits, the greatest joy would often come at the end of Ramadan, which is the 3-day celebration known as Eid al-Fitr. Now, as an Arab kid, that meant one thing. And no, I don't mean presents, I mean money. My cousins, my sisters and I would all line up from youngest to eldest. I was at the head of the queue for a long period of time to get our crisp 100 Syrian lira note, which was a handful of dollars at the time, from each of the adults. The older the child, the bigger the idea or gift. I would often get an extra coin from my tata to get chocolate down the road. But as I got older, in my teens, such acts of generosity were cause for discomfort. I felt guilty taking any money from my relatives, who before the Civil War lived a comfortable but very modest life. I didn't want to deprive them of anything, when I was already starting to notice the socio-economic disparities between Syria and Australia. There were child beggars on the street, people were living in alleyways, electricity would go out at any time, often for hours, and water and gas were always sacred commodities. When it came to the fasting, obviously as an active kid, there were some challenges. I did find it difficult at times to go from sunrise to sunset without water or food, but I never remember it feeling like a chore. Ramadan was a source of joy and a special time for me and my family. One that began at about 4 a.m., where we would wake up for just before sunrise for the meal called suhoor, the last meal before daybreak. I can picture the scene in the kitchen. My mum and my auntie Fatima would be over the small stovetop making scrambled eggs and potatoes. We'd have that, halloumi, bread, za'atar, and some tea with powdered milk, all in our pajamas crammed around this small table. And it would end with a large family meal in the evening, seeing my Uncle Safa after he'd finished work, playing cards with my cousins. Visiting Syria during Ramadan and Eid taught me a great deal. It gave me perspective, helped show me what really mattered, taught me what the word want truly meant, and allowed me to help better empathize with others, to try to see the world through the eyes of others, rather than through my very privileged lens. These were lessons, of course, consolidated back here in Sydney as I became more aware of the needs of others as I grew older. And I think this understanding was a key factor in my desire to become a journalist and share the stories of the voiceless, the oppressed, the distressed. And when civil war broke out in Syria, those memories of my mother's ancestral home and the insights I gathered took an even more profound, albeit tragic, meaning. At a time of great global despair and humanitarian catastrophe, these are lessons I am still learning today, and ones I hope help inform others. To me, Ramadan is a sacred moment to reflect, to appreciate what we have, increase our awareness of what others do not, and think about how we, in our own little way, can be a good human and work towards making our world a better and more equitable place. Shukran. Ramadan Kareem.
Thank you so much, Omar. Beautiful. Omar, don't run too far. Jeff Adair is going to present you with Jeff Adali, is going to present you with a gift. He's right there behind you. Affinity Director. Thank you, Jeff. He's coming up. Here he is. Hello, Jeff.